Fantastic. Okay, so welcome everyone this afternoon to the Georges River Local Planning Panel. My name's Sue Francis and I'm the chair of this meeting today. And we have three extra panel members. We have Michael Levy, Nicholas Skelton, and Erin Sellers. And we're here to determine the matter on the agenda today, which is the development of 185 Queen's Road, Connells Point. Now, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. We are live streaming, and as you would have realised if you've been hanging around, we're recording this matter, and so as a consequence we need to be very mindful, one, that we speak clearly so that everyone can understand, and also be mindful of what we say because it is live streamed. I have three speakers today in relation to this one item, which is Anna Williams on behalf of the neighbour, Belal Hijazi and Van Janevsky for the applicant, or being the applicant, and for the proposal. Now, I've also, as before when this matter was heard, we've all declared that there's no conflicts of interest in relation to this particular matter, and they've been disclosed prior to the meeting. So what we will do, as this is the only item, we'll talk to those people who wish to speak in the order that I just mentioned, which is Anna Williams first, and then we'll talk to the applicant's two representatives, and then we will log off, and then we'll go on to another login to consider the matter. Now, we're aware that this matter has been deferred from a previous meeting, and that there were certain matters needed to be clarified. Those have been clarified. They are the matter of the subject of the report that we have before us. Now, interestingly, note that there was no submissions or no representations made to the panel in relation to the first time we dealt with this matter, but there is now submissions, and that being the case, I will call Anna Williams, and if you'd like to put your camera and unmute yourself, and then you can make representation. Now, the trick is when anyone is speaking, everyone else has to be on mute, but the panel is the only ones, plus the speaker I'd like on camera. But thank you very much. Over to you, Anna.
Can you hear me okay? Great. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. I'm assisting the owners of 187 Queen's Road, Nicole and Stephen Roberts. Overall, we've got concerns that the privacy and solar access issues that have been raised have been missed in this assessment to some extent. Privacy is the biggest issue. It's the ground floor balcony that's the primary matter. It breaches the foreshore building line, it breaches the objectives of the foreshore building line development standard, and it breaches the privacy provisions of the DCP. What we need is a privacy screen that is 3.5 metres long, measured from the face of the building, and it needs to be shown on the elevation. At the moment, the elevation plan doesn't show a screen, it shows a ghosted image with the word beyond written on it, and that's not good enough. I understand from talking to the assessing officer that there is a notation on the floor plan about a screen, but I can't see that floor plan. I'm not allowed to have it. I was told I was needing to take council's word for that. That's not okay either. With respect, we need to see that this privacy issue is resolved. It is a very direct and intrusive sightline back into the neighbouring dwelling. The privacy screen can be angled so that the views are not interrupted overly for the applicant, but they will obstruct the view back into the living area and the balconies, number 187. Second issue is the south-facing windows to the living and bedroom on the western end of the southern elevation. They are plate glass, large plate glass windows, and they look directly onto the balconies of number 187. Council has recommended a screen on one of those windows, and we agree with that. We don't know what that screen's going to look like. We have no understanding of it, but again, it could be angled towards the view and angled so that to prevent a sight line to the neighbour. We need that screen on both those windows. The top floor window is dominating in terms of its view of those balconies, and it's very important that both those windows are screened. And finally, there's the first floor bedroom, which has a balcony and a window facing west and a window facing south. The balcony needs to be screened because there's a bedroom immediately below it of number 187, and both that balcony and that window will be in about a proximity of 3 metres to that bedroom, and there's this downward viewing angle straight into it. When I went there, it was really obvious that that was going to be a problem. We need a screening or a frosting to that window if possible, and a screening of 3 metres to the balcony edge. And finally, solar access, we just don't agree. It's not compliant. There's not solar diagrams that show that it's compliant. There is no, there is shadow from 12 o'clock onwards, but the shadow doesn't just start at 12 o'clock. It's there before that. It creeps across that southern elevation. So it's definitely not going to comply. And finally, there's a recommendation for a tree to be put in the front yard. That's actually going to block the sun. So even if we, are okay with the sun, it's going to block it. So we were wondering if the panel might consider a deciduous species or a lower growing native species that might allow the sun to come down into the windows on the northern elevation of number 187. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm really happy to answer any questions that you might have. We think that this can be resolved, but it's really important to understand that that ground floor balcony breaches. It's not compliant, and it's really going to be very intrusive to number 187. We don't want to look back into them, but we don't want them looking back into us either, and we think that can be resolved. So happy to take any questions that you might have.
Okay, Anna, I just want to ask a question. So I don't want to ask a question. I want to ask you if you can help us understand exactly, so there is no confusion or doubt as to which windows and the areas that you're concerned. If
Sure.
you could, actually, could you mark on a plan and email it to the council?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that possible?
Absolutely.
If you could do that, sort of like, if you could just mark up the windows you're concerned about,
Yeah.
and the area that you are concerned and want resolved in a manner that you're suggesting, so that we can then be totally clear as to that we're talking about the same windows and the same outlook. That would be fantastic. And is it best to send it to Cass? Cass, are you the best one to have it?
The panel secretariat at Georges River.
There you go.
Yep, I've got
Thank
that.
you. Okay, great, thanks.
If you can just email a plan, just scribble it up, that would be fine, just so we can clearly understand what it is you have a concern. Now, panel members, anyone else have any questions, queries?
Just if I could add to that with the plan, if it's possible to show on the elevations what the actual windows, what rooms they're to as well.
Of number 187, or
Yes, the windows you're concerned about. If you can just let us know those windows on the side elevation, what rooms they're to.
I think you said bedroom and living room, but I'm not. I might have. That's why I would like actually appreciate if you could tell us what they are.
To be fair, I don't have a floor plan, so it's difficult to know. I don't get access to that, but I've had to make some assumptions based on the little that I know. But I'll put it all on the plan. So
this is on 187, not on 185.
Well, I don't have a elevation of 187.
Oh, right, okay.
I've got the survey plan. That might.
It's just so as we understand the solar impact, which rooms, whether they're living or bedrooms.
Actually, yeah, I can do the solar. I've got a solar access elevation. Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, Erin or Nick? Is that all you needed, Michael?
Yes, and just I guess to confirm from the plans that we've got at the moment, it looks as if the balcony does not extend any further forward towards the water compared to the existing building, which I think has been sort of dashed on the plans that we have.
It extends to the side. I understand that they've gone as far as the end of the balcony currently goes, but there's an element of the which is the subject of the clause 4.6 request. There's an element of the proposed balcony that extends to the south.
Okay, so it's that the bit to the side that's sort of concerned, and there's an existing window, I think, along that side corner as well.
in the existing building at 185? Yes,
Yeah,
exactly right.
sure. Sorry, that was all.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
I
And if
have
you can, oh, sorry, Nick. Yep.
Yep. So as far as the tree goes, how do I get a handle on how tall would be permissible? Not permissible. How tall would be acceptable?
We think 5 metres maximum height would allow the sun in over the top of it, because it's a sort of an. I mean, there's a hill behind the houses, so it's really vulnerable anyway in that respect. But I think that by allowing some sun to come in when the sun's as high as it can be in the sky, which is I guess 12 o'clock, then there's not going to be a large 10-metre high tree, I think is what's proposed, blocking that from the lower ground of number 187 has a living area in it that's got a northern window, which is really highly valued in terms of solar access for the owners, and it's potentially going to block that. So as low as it's fair and reasonable, and we say that probably would be about a 5 metre maximum height.
Can you tell me what the use is on that yard? We'll call it the front yard, rear yard, the eastern yard of 187.
Eastern yard of 187. It's not really. The yard itself is not really the main private open space. The main private open space is more to the water side. There's you have to go back and have a little look, but it's basically the entrance to the building, and then there's a lower living area that it's adjoining the kitchen that gets all the sun on its northern and eastern windows. So that's the bit that, from a solar access point of view, is important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Just send your email.
Okay, lovely. Thanks.
Thank you. And now I have the applicant, and I've now just lost your names. So that's Bilal and Vanjanevski. Do we have them online? I know I saw Van before.
Yes, I'm here.
You're excellent. What do you want to say to the panel?
Bilal, is Bilal available? You might want to.
Yes.
Speak.
Yeah. I just wanted to agree with the report and what was in it, and pass it on to you, Van. You can take it from here.
Yep. Thanks, Bilal. Yeah. Look, we understand the concerns. This has been a very sensitive development application throughout, and again, the panel's been out on site. We've looked at the issues. From the previous panel recommendations, the changes were made, amendments were made. A meeting was scheduled with council and was held at the council chambers on the 1st of June, just to confirm and align some of the expectations from council's perspective and ours with the owners' presence there. We agreed on the recommendations and the report. Also, that's been produced by council once those amendments that were provided by us. The owner would only again like to raise condition 8, the design change that's also been brought up by the neighbouring at 187 neighbour at 187. It's just a little bit odd that we've never seen privacy screens requested to be placed on windows that are on a waterfronted property. There's the best views on that property are like towards the south. Again, I understand that there will be some overlooking across that back of that property. With waterfront properties, all the residents, if you walk down into those properties, all the residents can walk down into their jetties or backyards and look back up at each other. So it's not as if they're not. There will be no overlooking at all on these properties. It's going to be part and parcel of the nature of those residents down there. So again, the owner's request would be for that condition to be reviewed. And again, obviously, it's been raised by the other speaker. So again, it's just it's a primary view down to the south. There's extensive views down to Kangaroo Point and Blakehurst from that point, from that peninsula. So again, as an architect, we would sort of lean towards looking at opportunities to look to a valuable view from any potential property. So that's where we're coming from with that window. It's not as if we're purposely trying to create some sort of overlooking issue on the project. So I'll just leave it with the panel and council to resolve.
Van, just to follow up on that point, if I recall from the speaker, Anna was suggesting some form of louvers which maintained privacy but also protected the views. So some form of louvers as opposed to a solid screen. I got the feeling that's what she was referring to. That would be more acceptable, because I hear what you're saying about maintaining the view, but I think it's maintaining the view at the same time as protecting privacy.
Yeah, I'm only representing the client and the owner, but yes, I agree that there can be some solution where an angled screen or some sort of like measure can be implemented that would probably solve both concerns.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any questions? So I'll start with Michael.
Yeah, thanks. Just picking up on that point that you just made, Sue. Yeah, are you able to sort of comment, or I guess, on what the response is to the concerns from next door about overlooking and privacy, or are you saying that angled screens would be acceptable and would address the issue?
Sorry, is that directed at myself? Sorry.
Yes.
Look, I'm not privy to what concerns the neighbours have had. Like, again, we've had numerous rounds of objections and submissions throughout this project, but I'm not privy to what the latest would be. But obviously, that I can understand what the concern would be on the southern side and with the water views to the south. But yeah, something of that like would probably tackle the matter. Again, we've been dealing with that site at 187, and from the outset of the project, we've had sort of some moving targets. There's some sort of windows there that sort of were there at the beginning, or sorry, weren't there at the beginning. Some windows that are there now. So again, I can't say clearly what those rooms were. There's been instances where some items have been moved on and off balconies on that southern neighbour as well. So from our end, there's a lot of moving targets on that site to the south. So that's all I can say. Okay,
and when I talk about the neighbours, the concerns, they're the ones set out in the council assessment report. So that's to do with the overlooking. And have you got a response to the other concern about overshadowing or increased overshadowing of windows along the side of that house?
Well, we've provided numerous times with shadow elevations and the like to council. Council's opinion is that it meets the requirements of the DCP. It's in the report, so we've done that numerous times, and we've provided that at each request.
Thanks, that's all.
I think the point in relation to that, Van, if I can add to what Michael said, is that we've got the very basic 9, 12 and 3 shadows without the nuanced consideration of the number of hours and at what point an elevation they hit the relevant windows. So I think what Michael was trying to get from you from an architectural perspective is, can you add to, and can you add a more nuanced shadowing response? I know you can draw one, but in the absence of drawing one, can you actually verbalise what the analysis would be?
I'm just having a quick look. We have provided that to council on Amendment B. It was on the 2nd of the 12th, 22. So we have got shadow diagrams all the way from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at hourly increments, and they're available. Okay. And we've also got a study of the windows that were, again, from the outset of us taking on the job, there was windows that weren't there, and now there's some windows that are there. So again, I question what's happening on the site next door, and the way for us to respond to it has not been easy. So,
okay. So you're saying you do have hourly shadows?
Yeah, they've been provided in revision B to council on the 12th month of 22.
Okay, I will get council to clarify that with us. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other questions from Erin or Nick? No, no. Okay, thank you very much. That's all. That's good for us. If there's no more questions or clarifications, what I will do is I'll close the meeting and at 2:58, and then I'll ask the panel members to come back in on the previous on the subsequent link, please. Thank you very much. And panel member, council, could you see if you can find those shadow diagrams that have been referred to by the applicant, please, so we can look at them. Thank you. I'll see you on the next link at, hold on, I'm not, what time is that supposed to be? Oh, now, please. Thank you.